Welcome to the latest and penultimate edition of the LL Football Roundtable, brought to you by Auto House of Lancaster from the big broadcast center, 101 North Queen Street in Lancaster. My name is Mike Gross. I'm hosting. To my left is Jason Guarente. To my right is Jeff Reinhardt. And we're going to talk about some big football games that occurred last weekend, and we had four huge games with high stakes, 2 winners and 2 losers from our league. And the thing about these games, before I turn it over to you guys, is that these are, we're now at the point where these are games that they're going to remember the players are going to remember for the rest of their lives.
Agreed.
And what, in a couple of cases here, what they have to remember is really a gut punch. So let's start with Harrisburg and Manheim Township.
That would be the biggest gut punch of the week, probably.
Really
Township has just had an amazing season. We've sat here for 15 weeks singing their praises.
Yep.
1 seed, Harrisburg at home. Here we go. What was it, 28-6?
28-6 lead in the second half.
Got to
Ended
finish
up losing
the job.
in overtime. 28-20 lead with 4 seconds left, something like that.
Got to finish the job there.
A tough one.
Yeah, the thing is they didn't get their district championship, and that's kind of would have put them in the upper echelon of township teams, of LL 6A teams. That's what really hurts. I think if you win this game, you lose the semifinals, it's a different story. But they're also playing the 2-time defending champs, and they were trying to beat them twice in one season, and that's difficult to do.
And they beat them 38-6 the first time.
Yeah, but that's
same
one
as last
that
year.
it's gonna haunt them. There's no way around that.
And as I said, Harrisburg scored on very near the end of regulation to make it 28-26. Went for 2, ran the same play, got it again, and then we go to overtime, and there's this touchdown pass completed, but
He went out of bounds and came back in.
the receiver went out of bounds and came back in, and I think I don't think there's any. I haven't seen anybody question the call. It was apparently a correct call.
I saw Evans this week at the banquet, and he said he stepped out and came back in. Legit.
Yeah.
He said I couldn't challenge it, couldn't gripe. He said we saw it all the way, and it was.
If you look at the replay, the referee was all over the call. He was right on the back line.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got to give him some credit. I mean, that's not an
There you
obvious or assumable call, I don't think.
Evans was, I guess, a little shell-shocked still when I saw him on Tuesday. Praised the kids, praised the season. Great, but wow, we let that one get away. You have to close the door there.
Yeah, you really do. And then the other one, and this one to me was even more unbelievable. We all sat here last week and said, if you're going to beat Bishop McDevitt, you got to score 40.
Yeah.
You got to outscore them. Well, Manheim Central didn't stop them, but really slowed down an offense that I didn't think anybody was going to slow down.
Agreed.
And they end up losing 23-17. This was in the 4A district final.
Yeah.
None of us saw this game, but
No, 17-8 in the second half. Led at
17-8
half.
lead. They held them to 8 points in the first half.
Jason and I are in the press box at Effort at Cocalico, and we're like, whoa, Manheim, here we go.
They didn't just hold them to 8 points. It was a defensive touchdown and a safety. The defense
That's
held them
right.
to 0 points.
Exactly.
Bishop McDevitt's offense scored 0 in the first half, probably the first 2.5 quarters, right? Or so.
when's the last
Into
time
the
that
fourth.
happened?
Into the fourth, it was 7.
That's tough. And we ran into some Central kids here for our basketball media day, and I had to say what happened. Just maybe a busted coverage here or a play there, and McDevitt's trotting out these D1 athlete wide receiver guys with a D1 quarterback
they
guy.
didn't score, though.
They didn't score, but they got drives when they needed them to win it later. So
I sat in the chair Jeff's sitting in, and Aaron Enterline sat in that chair.
Nice.
And he shook his head and said, "There's no way we should have lost that game." And that's going to be how they remember it. The could-have-beens are a big part of district playoff.
We talk about this, and you guys, your stories kind of reflected this. Is these kids get emotional at the end of this in a way that goes beyond winning and losing, because it's this big thing in their lives that's over now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's that element of it. and then when it's over and this is the last memory.
Yeah, that's a stinger. Dave Byrne covered.
I mean, this is a first world problem, feeling sorry for these kids, but
Yeah, Dave Byrne covered the township game for us.
Yeah.
Way after deadline Friday night, I get an email from Dave, and he said, "Hey, I couldn't even get any quotes from the township side." He said they were distraught.
Yeah.
And he said, deadline, yada. Yeah. But he said it was just tough to approach any of these kids and coaches because it was a tearjerker at the end. And
let's pick it up a little bit here, guys.
Yeah, let's talk
we do
happy
have
stuff.
some good news to talk
happy,
about.
There's still two teams still playing.
Two teams still dancing. District 5A championship game, which you two both attended, and many other people attended, and many people didn't attend who wish they could have. But that's another story. Yeah. Cocalico 23 and Ephrata 9. If you strip away all the context, this was really a pretty routine Cocalico win, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just a couple of opportunities that Ephrata let slip away. Yeah. They had a short touchdown that they missed early in the game, so they went, and then they had a first and goal in the final seconds before halftime, and they went for it, and they didn't get any points out of that. They missed a field goal. All that adds up to having no points, into the fourth quarter.
It was not a blowout.
No, it was close, and it was close statistically in every way. It's just one or two plays here and there.
Cocalico's defense was probably my takeaway. 7 sacks. We marveled all night. And there's another sack. There's another sack. And McCracken can really tuck it and run for Ephrata, but they had him pinned in all night, didn't let him escape, and seven sacks.
Logan Brubaker.
Yep.
Owen Weaver.
Yep.
Dane Bollinger as a linebacker.
Yep. Loudon Slogger.
Yeah, these are great players that don't get as much attention because they're not skill players, but they're phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay, so Cocalico moves on.
Here they are.
State semis, formidable opponent.
Looks like it. Peters Township, Whippeal champ, first time ever.
I've been noticing
those
that
guys
this year, though. You know,
you mentioned that.
You notice. Yeah. Anyway, they look good. They look legitimate.
They look really good. Their offensive numbers don't blow you away, but their defense is tough. Talked to Stroll, talked to some of his coaches this week, and he said they're aggressive, they swarm, and they tackle you. They wrap and tackle you. They don't let you break away, and they're really aggressive. So anxious to see Peters Township's defense against Cocalico's veer, and they do that just as good as anybody around here.
Maybe against a team that chases and swarms, a little bit of misdirection.
Yeah.
That I'm just sort of making that up, but it's logical. That
certainly.
could be.
Certainly.
That could be. That could be.
Does it feel different than last season when Cocalico was kind of the Cinderella?
Yeah. It does.
It's like whatever they get now is gravy, but now they have a chance, right?
I think they have a chance just because of the veer and hogging the ball. And they're edgier. Somebody asked me, hey, what's the difference between these teams? And last year's team was fun, and they were really good, and Chucky and the whole crew. This team just feels like a little edgier. There's something about them. They really stick you. The D we saw against Ephrata was really good. Steffi's playing D, made a huge stick on a first and goal.
This is probably a comparable opponent to last year.
Sounds like it. This team beat Pine Richland to win the Whippeal. And
this is probably the same. This is almost a measuring stick of last year to this year. Maybe,
agreed.
In that they're, I think, similar quality, not similar style, but similar quality.
Yeah, and I think having gone and played in Altoona just a year ago in the cold and the atmosphere, I think that could pay off for Cocalico a little bit. I don't think there'll be deers in headlights like, oh my gosh, Pine Richland, Altoona, what are we doing here? Yeah. I think they'll be a little more chiseled and ready to play with that edge.
Yeah, and hopefully Owen Weaver, seniors too. There are 20-some seniors.
Yeah. They have a ton of seniors. Hopefully Owen Weaver plays. Knock on wood for him. He had to leave the game early last week. Knock on glass. He had to look like a pretty bad little injury there. We'll see if he gets back in, but can't wait. Seeing Altoona.
And finally, in 3A, Wyomissing 48, Danville 27 in the state quarterfinals last week, which means Wyo moves on to the semis against
Northwestern Lehigh, District 11 Tigers. First state final since 2002. They have 630 points. That's a lot. they can really move the ball and get
That is a lot.
touchdowns. It's a lot of points this time of year. They average like 48 a game.
Well, it's got to be.
So they have a really good offense, and Wyo's D, which, as we talked about this before, since the Cocalico game, they have cleaned it up defensively, and they've been really good stopping the run. So we'll see how they
Does
handle.
this team throw it a lot, or would they mix it up?
I think they mix it up. They have a sophomore quarterback, so they do run a lot. This Dylan Clymer, I think his name is, Clymer, 1,600 rusher, 30 touchdowns. Everybody this time of year has fancy stats.
Yeah, that's right.
But, we'll see. Wyo, like Cocalico, hog the ball, wing tee, 20-play drives, 7 minutes, get 6 points.
Those are the teams that are still playing, interesting.
Those are.
Jason, what do you got on Northwestern League? I know you're all over Northwestern.
You're all over.
Well, we heard this with Danville last week, right? Incredible offense. How do you stop the offense? And it was 40-something to 19 in the third quarter. So Wyo finds a way, and the level of competition, I think, is higher in District 3 than it is in District 11. So I would take the numbers with a little bit of a grain of salt.
Yeah, probably.
When they get that big, you sort of get a little skeptical. Like, my goodness. 600
really.
points. Who are they putting up
that's how I
600
feel
points
too,
against?
Yeah, really. I talked to Wolfram the other night at the banquet. I said, what do you think? And he said, well, you know what we're going to do. We're going to run the ball 70 times and try to kill the clock, milk the clock, get touchdowns. He said,
70.
yeah, he said we got to.
7-0.
He said we got to make them adjust to what we're doing. We're going to play our
And
game.
seriously, if they do run it 70 times, that will mean they've done a good job of moving the chains and controlling the clock. And
Very true.
It's not just a choice; it's sort of an impact on the game type of thing.
I
All
would-
right, and that's it.
Yes.
Anything from the banquet, Ryan?
Banquet was great.
We're talking about the LL coaches get together in Mount Gretna at the
Yep,
Timbers every
at the
year, and that was
Timbers.
last night. And Jeffrey was in attendance.
Have some meat, have some pie.
Meat.
Drink some coffee.
Protein
and
synthesis.
talk with everybody. All stars were
theme.
released. Coaches of the Years are released. That's all in Lancaster Online. You can find it. No huge surprises. Happy for the Coaches of the Year. They all did a great job with their teams. It was a good time. A good time was had by all.
So next week we'll either have 2 teams remaining, or 1 team remaining, or no teams
0.
remaining. No matter which of those scenarios actually happens,
Yes.
we're going to come back and do one last edition of the big show and kind of sum up the football season. And the following week, the basketball roundtable will begin. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
This has been the LL Football Roundtable, brought to you by Auto House of Lancaster. Mike Gross, Jason Valente, Jeffrey Reinhardt. We'll see you later.